Over in the pages of Batman vs. Robin, the duo were doing battle with the devil Nezha when a mysterious volcano erupted over on Lazarus Island, causing the DC universe to become coated in a mysterious Lazarus resin that's causing them to gain new powers. In DC's Lazarus Planet event, we've been reaching across the DC universe far and wide to cover a wide range of stories to see how the DC universe is reacting to the mysterious Lazarus resin. My name is Arco Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and cover the latest that DC's Lazarus Planet has to offer with Lazarus Planet Legends Reborn #1. But before we get deeper into the video, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button if you enjoy our content. And I want to share some context behind this Lazarus Planet special issue by reading DC Comics solicitation text for the story. Ancient and dangerous power has been awakened following the eruption of the Lazarus Volcano, and this surge of fantastical power will affect the DC Universe forevermore. In Lazarus Planet Legends Reborn, we'll explore corners of the planet newly awakened and primed to restore some heroes and villains long forgotten. With the help of Nightwing, can new hero City Boy help to commune with Gotham in time to save it? Who are the mysterious trio claiming to be resurrected by siblings of Raven? How far would the question go to lead across a transformed Gotham City? And will the flame of Firestorm burn out yet another horrific host? Not if Harley Quinn has anything to say about it. And I want to go ahead and introduce the creative team behind Lazarus Planet. This issue is split up into multiple stories, so we'll go ahead and kick things off here with the first one. This one is called Masks and Monsters. It's written by Alex Segura, illustrated by Clayton Henry, colored by Marcelo Maiolo, lettered by Pat Brosseau, and the cover for the issue is illustrated over from Vasco Georgiev. Here's a look at the cover for the issue. I always enjoy kind of kicking these reviews off by talking a little bit about the cover itself. Over on Lazarus Planet, I feel like most issues have been drawn over from, or the covers for most issues have been drawn over from artist Dave Marquez, who always lends a sort of sense of symmetry to the issue. And I'm great to see, even though Marquez isn't drawing this cover, that Vasco Georgiev is also kind of laying out each character that's going to be like featured in the issue over on the cover. And plus, they're kind of striking an interesting pose, and also they're kind of on the page arranged in a really interesting manner. So I really appreciate how animated and expressive Vasco Georgiev is. Plus, I like how DC is kind of introducing each story in the collection here over on just the cover alone. And I want to thank Adventures in Poor Taste for posting this preview for the issue so incredibly fast. Let's go ahead and kick things off here by taking a look at this Masks and Monsters story. I want to go ahead and kick things off by talking about Clayton Henry. Clayton Henry is so good at drawing characters with kind of strong, expressions and secondary actions, and getting like the opportunity to see Henry kind of draw the Gotham City Police Department with, Renee Montoya as the commissioner is an absolute delight in this chapter. It's so great kind of seeing, Henry be able to kind of express some of Montoya's emotions in a story that feels, so important to the DC universe as part of this event. I love this page because we really get that sort of strained, body composition over from Renee. And I just feel like there's a lot of emotion, coming off of the page, despite the fact that Clayton Henry is such a composed and sort of detailed artist. And I also enjoyed Alex Segura's writing in this issue. I think, Renee really gets the opportunity to kind of, lead a double life, as the Question. In some of John Ridley's work over on GCPD, The Blue Wall, I really enjoy kind of like that series, but it's just so dark. And getting the chance to see, Renee Montoya act like a good guy while she's, in her tenure as the commissioner is, I think, a great kind of palate cleanse for that, for the really heavy GCPD series. And just a great opportunity to kind of get the chance to see Renee over in action on some of these pages. I love how kind of like other Lazarus Planet stories are referenced in this one specific panel over from Clayton Henry. And this page where we kind of see Renee Montoya suiting up as the Question was a big highlight of the issue, as I just love kind of getting that dual life of Renee as she's kind of serving as the police commissioner, but then she's also kind of moonlighting over as a superhero. And I really enjoyed this issue, this kind of story in the issue. I think it did wrap up a little bit too soon, and I hope that we get to see, more Renee Montoya somewhere else. The last panel of the issue kind of says the end with the question mark. So I believe there may be more Renee Montoya, comic book content in the near future over from DC. The next story in the collection is called Trilogy. This one is written by Alex Paknadel, illustrated by Christopher Mitten, colored by Romulo Fajardo Jr., and lettered by Troy Peteri. So this trilogy story was interesting because it's good to be reintroduced to kind of Raven and Beast Boy before the Titan series that was recently announced by DC kind of kicks off in earnest. So it's good to kind of get the relationship between, Raven and, also some of those elements of Trigon re-explored kind of throughout this storyline. I thought it introduced some interesting kind of plot concepts, and it had such an interesting tone because you would think a story, involving, Raven facing Trigon again would be particularly dark, but there were quite a few moments of humor in this chapter that I really appreciated. And I think the final moments kind of set up an interesting, plot arc for Raven that I'm curious to see explored in future issues of the series. So this next story in the kind of Lazarus Planet Legends Reborn is one that I was looking forward to the most. This one is called City Boy. It's written by Greg Pak, illustrated by Minkyu Jung, colored by Sunny Gho, lettered by Wes Abbott. Basically, I was really excited about this series because the City Boy character really interests me over in the Wildstorm, 30th anniversary special, and I just couldn't wait to see what DC was going to do with this character and kind of where this character was going to be introduced next. This story kind of teams City Boy up with Nightwing, Dick Grayson, and we get just kind of the first inclinations of maybe what City Boy is going to be like as a hero, and also what some of those extended, power sets are going to look like. Plus, we have just like kind of a few crumbs at the kind of introduction to City Boy's relationship to Robin. So I really hope we kind of just continue to see this character develop. I feel like the story is very good, but it's so short. We're still sort of in that introductory phase, with City Boy as a character. So I can't wait for this creative team to really flesh out this character, in a lot more context, because I think there's still quite the story to be had with City Boy. And I did enjoy the art in this issue over from Minkyu Jung. I love how kind of City Boy ends up kind of finding himself in some of the seediest parts, of the city, exploring these various mysteries that he's kind of been attuned to from the inner workings of the city as well. And also, I like that City Boy has some character flaws because I don't want each character in every issue to be 100% perfect. And it looks like City Boy has quite the narrative arc to go through before he's able to kind of resolve, some lingering tensions in the issue. Lastly, I really enjoyed the script over from Greg Pak, but I want to talk a little bit about Minkyu Jung. I think Minkyu Jung's characters on the page are very, very expressive. It's great to see kind of City Boy interacting with the city and sort of like a little bit of like a fantasy twist. And I think Jung's work on this particular chapter of this issue is just absolutely wonderful to behold. There's a couple there's a couple full pages when City Boy kind of like descends into the water and kind of teases a little bit more about how his powers work. These pages were beautiful, and I hope that Jung will continue to take more artistic risks in future issues of wherever City Boy ends up next. The last story over in the collection is called Reign of Terror. This one is written by Dennis Culver, illustrated by Jesus Merino, colored by Romulo Fajardo Jr. and lettered by Dave Sharpe. So this story in the collection has some gorgeous art over from Jesus Merino. I really enjoy the way Jesus Merino portrays Firestorm kind of throughout the issue. I would say from the writing perspective that this does feel a little bit pedestrian. I feel like every single time I read a Firestorm story, there's some sort of issue in the compatibility between the two characters that are being fused to make up the Firestorm property. And I feel like this is exactly where some of the writing in the story goes wrong. Is we get a very kind of familiar setting and location and scenario for Firestorm in this issue, and there's only a couple teases at interesting things to come for future issues. I think too, my issue with Firestorm is he's a character that DC kind of changes and retools a lot. So really getting the chance to kind of like enjoy the character in a kind of like coherent manner is very difficult when DC is just constantly rebooting Firestorm over and over and over again. So I really hope that DC makes good on kind of the text that they wrote in the final panel of this story, where they write only the beginning. And I'm really hoping that they'll kind of continue fleshing out, what's next for Firestorm. All right, so those are my thoughts on Lazarus Planet Legends Reborn. I think this is a really solid issue for Lazarus Planet. It was particularly exciting to see City Boy, reintroduced, as well as some of those Titans characters and Renee Montoya. I still think that the issue with, or that story with Firestorm could have used maybe some additional Lazarus Planet magic to make it really kind of, shine through like some of these other stories. But still, I just want to say, as a whole, I'm very happy with DC's Lazarus Planet. I think that DC has done such a wonderful job kind of touching on so many plot threads across the DC universe. And I really think that this kind of crossover story has brought something different than, a lot of the recent events over from DC. And I really hope that DC continues to put the focus on all of these sort of ancillary characters that make their universe feel like a real and, lived in place. But I want to know from you, what are your overall thoughts on Lazarus Planet so far? Have you been enjoying these issues as much as I have? Thank you so much for checking out our content, and we're going to be back really soon with more excellent comic book videos. Thanks so much, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.